What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna break down a Thunderbird near miss. I mean, these jets almost smack each other. And it's really cool how they avoid each other, but I'm gonna tell you how maybe it could have been done different. A little bit of armchair quarterbacking here, I get it. And then I'm gonna talk to you about probably 3 different close calls that I saw on the Thunderbirds and how we dealt with them. And I think you'll just find it interesting and exciting how small the margins are for error when flying for the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds, or just as a fighter pilot in general, and how the stakes are incredibly high. This video is gonna just I think it's gonna be one of those that you just at the end, you're gonna be like, whoa, dude. And I'm not just saying that because my call sign is Neo and that was like how Brody in Point Break would say it. No, that's not why I'm saying it, because if you stay to the very end, I think you're just gonna be entertained and excited, and who knows, maybe you wanna pop into the backseat of a Thunderbird jet after this. Could be fun. Thanks for being here, guys, and I just wanna throw this out there that this channel exists because of my company, B-Jet Clean. We are America's shave and shower supplies, started by me, a Thunderbird fighter pilot and a fighter pilot. And I started it in my garage in Boise, Idaho when I was flying fighter jets, and I got my backseater, a Wizzo, weapon systems operator, in on it, and him and I have launched this company, and currently we're just excited to be bringing you the best shower and shave supplies at an affordable price. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we're giving back to veterans because it's not just about profit, it's about profit for purpose and creating cool things with our profit. With that said, let's dive into this Thunderbirds near miss.
Somebody's going 400 miles an hour and you're sitting still, and they blend in. You know, they're white, they blend in with the background there. It can be extremely difficult to pick them up, but you could tell.
This is really cool footage. I'm thinking that maybe they got this footage from a blimp. Could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong below. But ultimately, I think this is really cool. It looks like some sort of aerial footage, which is awesome. Or just a news helicopter. Yeah, it could be a news helicopter.
This shot is really clear as they fly by. They're just coming up right now on the...
Okay, so some background before we go further in the video is that prior to these flybys, you've been in formation for a while. And you know, even our takeoffs, usually we would just do formation takeoffs. So essentially you are in it, you are in the game, you are warming up from the split second that that wheel turns on the runway to get yourself ready to just stick it in formation position and to be incredibly alert. But the side effect of that is that you're tired. So you're sitting there holding like 30 pounds of pressure because you trim that F-16 full forward. And on the Super Hornet F-18, in the Legacy Hornet, they used to have rubber bands to kind of give them some tension to pull that stick forward, because you need downward tension to give yourself the precision and preciseness that you need. Preciseness? Yeah, that's definitely a word, look it up. But essentially what I noticed is with that full down trim, I could move that F-16, like let's say I was in close trail underneath the jet in front of me, I could move that thing 6 inches front or back. If you just have it trimmed to neutral, the jet seeks 1G. So you can move the jet like 2 feet or so, but you're not gonna be able to move it that 6 inches that you need to be extremely precise like this. But you're gonna be tired. Your arm is just gonna be like a rock at the end of that. I remember after the training season, I'd go home sometimes because we'd fly twice a day, and I would just sit there and I literally could not squeeze my hand together. That's how tired my hand was. You get used to it, you get better at it, and it's why my right arm is way stronger than my left now. Just kidding. But essentially, at the end of the day, you're tired because you're in formation position and you've been in position for probably, I would say, 10 minutes, close position for 10 minutes prior to doing this flyover. So that is probably gonna be a factor in what you see here in a second. But also it's new terrain. So when you're doing a flyover, you've studied it and you've looked at the topography of the ground and you've seen, you know, where the rivers are, where the towers are, where structures are, how you need to form that run-in line. So as the boss, as the leader, you've seen all that before and you've probably done one practice, but it's all relatively new. And I think that's gonna play out here when you see what happens here in a second.
Newport Beach area, and from there, I think what we're gonna see is them make a bit of a turn. Once they get a little south of Newport, they're gonna go east and head out towards Riverside County. And
okay, so there it is, right there. You can see that Thunderbird 1 has started a left-hand turn, and then he immediately rolls back out, which I'm thinking it's probably a new boss in this situation because that was a really abrupt rollout. And what I'm guessing happened is he saw like a lead-in feature, like a river or some sort of path that he had chair flown before. And so he starts turning for it, but as he does it, he realizes it's not the right one. It's a faker lead-in feature. So right here with the video frozen, you can see the entire formation is still slanted to the left, and he is just boop, put his wings back towards the right. And it may not look like much from this perspective, but everyone on the right side of the formation, they are now seeing cues that are showing them if they don't react right now, they are going to potentially hit in a few split seconds. So what you're going to see now is going to be most likely a pretty violent reaction from number 3 on the right side of the formation, and then that's just going to ripple down the formation, where in my opinion, the outside, the outriggers, those guys and gals have kind of the hardest job because they're essentially on the end of a whip, and they're going to get whatever reaction comes from number 3, they're going to get double that they're going to have to do in order to correct. So let's watch it.
There's the turn there. Boy, look at that. That is some cool stuff.
You can see how close number 1 and number 3 are, and he's doing a great job. Number 3 is using rudder to get away. So you can see his wings are still level, and he's using rudder to get out of there. Whereas I think it could be number 5 or number 6. I'm not sure who it is on the outside of that side, but he didn't think, or she didn't think, that rudder was going to be enough. You want to use rudder to get out, because let's say you are overlapped, you're overlapped like this, and you use aileron, boop, you're going to hit. But if you use rudder, you should be able to slide out. But rudder is more subtle, and it doesn't get you out of there immediately. And honestly, your first reaction as a pilot is to just use aileron and get away. So number 3 is really close here, and the outrigger there is just like, see ya, I'm out of here, man.
Wow.
That's phenomenal.
Yep, so the news announcer there says that is some cool stuff, because they probably think that this is just a part of the show. Oh, this is cool, let's send one out wide to say hello to everybody. And hey, that's the beauty of these jet teams, is a lot of times people don't know the crazy amount of precision that they're striving for. And so when something like this happens, it kind of comes across as like, oh, that's cool, it's neat. But at the end of the day, what they don't know is this was almost a hit that could have taken down, at least 2 jets, maybe 3. But, it worked out, and the reflexes worked. I think another part of it is self-preservation. When you see another jet getting incredibly big in your windscreen, you're like, oh, I got to get out of here.
So close to each other. The best of the best right there, and it's something you just don't get to see. That's why we're so excited about it. The only time you'd ever get to see anything like this is at an air show. And, I used to always cover the El Toro air show back when
And that's a fast join up by the outrigger. That was awesome. So really good way to tuck it back in there. And I will say, like, rejoins like this, rejoin to the outside, is way better. Really, rejoin to the outside of the formation to me was always my favorite way to rejoin.
That was open. So, every year I was out there covering that. That just hasn't been going on, and we don't see as many air shows as we used to due to all sorts of reasons. They shut down El Toro and budget constraints and things like that. So to see this as they turn north, right away from Newport Beach and come right back towards us, so we're really kind of lucky.
All right, so there you have it. There's that near miss. Definitely a potential any day you fly these jets, because you're flying so close, but ultimately you train so much, and this is why you train so much, so that when you see these weird situations, because nuances are going to happen, this is the gray area. Flying fighter jets 2.5 feet apart is the gray area, so these types of things happening is just relatively normal. I'll talk to you about a situation I saw in the training season, and this is normal as well. But someone from the outside perspective might just think, oh my gosh, this is just wild. But I remember doing a turn, and as number 2 on the inside of the formation, you have to push as you go into a turn. And the number 2 that I was training, they got too high. And there's something that happens inside you as an aviator where it doesn't feel normal to push and rudder into the jet next to you. So when you see a roll happening, the jets on the inside are having to rudder into the formation. You see what I'm saying there? Rudder in. So it's very counterintuitive to self-preservation, but it keeps you safe because when you rudder in, it keeps you tucked in and then you can push and maintain your position as you roll around that pendulum. At this point, this new pilot, and no fault to them, they were just doing their best and these things happen, and we were in a 2-seater and we got too high to where we were almost facing canopies with number 1. And so I pushed down and ruddered away and basically did this hayaka thing towards the ground, and we bottomed out at about 75 feet above the ground. Whew. That was a close one, but at the end of the day, I was like, whoa, what is happening? And then I took the jet as fast as I could and got away, with probably a little bit of an overreaction. And that's just, the nature of how things go. And at that point in the training season, we were flying high enough to where we had a lot of space below us so where I could dish it out and still recover, above about 75 feet above the ground. But that was a hairy day, but it was kind of an interesting feeling of like, wow, my reflexes have gotten honed to the point where I'm able to do that. And that's the whole point of the team, is to get so good that then when you get to train someone to take your spot, that you are so able to get out of positions like that, that you keep the team safe and you protect the integrity of the Blue Angels and of the Thunderbirds. That was the closest call I think I had in formation. There were so many different times where we would be going over to different types of terrain and we would hit pockets of turbulence. But the nice thing is when you hit a pocket of turbulence, you're all kind of in the same space. So it helps you to kind of know that you're gonna move in the same direction. Even if that jet's moving pretty violently up and down, you're kind of getting pushed with that aircraft. Similar to how you'd be getting pushed around if you were aerial refueling. Another close call actually happened when we weren't doing a show like this. We weren't doing a flyby, but my wingman had 0 oil pressure as we were coming back from an air show in England. We were around probably 200 miles off the coast of Greenland, and it just didn't make sense for us to turn around at the time based on the position of the airfields. So my wingman basically just left their throttle pretty much where it was after they had done a refueling. Luckily it happened right after, and they had enough gas to get to a very remote northern tip airfield in Canada. And so they essentially didn't touch their throttle. I went out ahead of them and I did a low approach at the runway to make sure there wasn't like moose on the runway or something like that. This thing was remote, guys. This was way, way out of the way. So I do this low approach because I'm thinking, hey, if there's like wildlife or deer or something like that, I can at least scare them off the runway. So I went down low. I went over the runway at probably about 25 feet, just kind of scoping it out, making sure there weren't like chunks of concrete or anything like that. And I cleared the runway, visually, it looked clear. So then I pulled up behind my wingman, he lands, and then we were at that base, essentially. It's a civilian airport. We were there for like 7 days before we could get an aerial refueler to come help us get to our next air show, which happened to be in Montana. But that was a close call. I mean, flying fighter jets are just a lot of these close calls. The last one I'll tell you about, because I promised you 3, was we were out flying over the Gulf of Mexico. We were going from Florida to somewhere in, I think, like Louisiana or Texas. And we were getting refueled out over the Gulf after doing a flyover for a bunch of JTACs, which was awesome. And there was some mechanical issue with that tanker, and thunderstorms were rolling in and essentially blocking off all the different airfields around the Gulf. And that tanker's aerial refueling probe broke. Like it didn't break off or anything, it just wasn't functioning. So they scrambled an emergency tanker for us, and we were trying to meet up with the tanker, but it was behind a wall of thunderstorms as well. So we've got 7 Thunderbird jets trying to get around these clouds. We're just kind of doing like a line along the coast looking for a break in the clouds, and the tanker's doing a line on the other side trying to find us. And then finally the clouds broke and we weren't able to get to the tanker. We had to emergency divert into an airfield along the coast. We landed, we stayed the night, and then we popped to our next destination after that. But that was a hairy situation because you're just sitting there watching your fuel go lower, 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 lower. So luckily it all worked out. Glad you guys are here for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and just smash that like button and subscribe. Thanks for being here on my company's channel, BJet Clean. We're America's shave and shower supplies. We give 10% back to veteran foundations. Thanks to your purchases, we're able to do that. So head over to bjetclean.com, grab some awesome stuff, and we'll see you on the next video.